Our last Formula E track to feature in this series was in Zurich. Well, I thought for the sake of chronology, we would do the other Swiss Formula E track next. Welcome to yet another episode of Street Track Failures, where today we're going over the Bern street circuit that was used once in 2019. This track has been requested a fair amount, largely because of the various antics that went on with this track. However, seeing as there will be people watching this video who aren't aware of what said antics were, I will talk about them later on. For the time being though, we've got a track to cover. And what a track it was. In what has to be one of the most technically intriguing tracks in this series so far, there are 14 corners in total, with 8 to the left and 6 to the right. And the track is just 1.6 miles / 2.6 kilometers in length. Although I say just in relation to its length, but actually it's one of the longer Formula E circuits there's ever been, which is saying something. Turn 1 has a downhill braking zone that brings you to an exceptionally tight hairpin that requires every bit of steering lock you have available. The dimensions of this corner are somewhat strange. There's lots of room midway through the corner despite the tight radius, but with the way the pit lane exit wall comes out, its width greatly reduces as you continue round it. Then, as you exit the corner, it's a massive plunge downhill with great speed, going round the lovely sweeper of Turn 2, where if the driver takes his eyes off the tarmac and onto what is next to them on the left hand side, they'll see a massive vertical swathe of greenery. This is an awesome feature about this circuit, and really helps give the track an added character. Now get your eyes back on the road as the elevation continues to bring you back closer to sea level at breakneck ferocity, before going hard on the brakes towards a gradually slow right-hander, which is made all the more difficult by a pesky bump on the entry to the corner. Then it's round another tight hairpin that utilises a small roundabout. Once you go past the podium that you hope to be standing on at the end of the race that's on the inside of the roundabout, it's now time to head back uphill once again, with the incline being just as much as the preceding decline in the elevation department. A small right-hander that's so irrelevant that it's not even classified as a corner on this track comes before an utterly brilliant corner. A long sweeping left-hander that curves beautifully up the hill to create what I can only imagine is a really satisfying corner to get right. I mean, to be honest, that corner seems like it would be satisfying at 20 miles an hour. The road then levels out with a short burst of acceleration before you head along a short straight that leads you up to a tight 120-degree left-hander. Although, before we go any further, I will just point out the irony of this particular thing here. There's no other way to describe this, other than it's a small petrol station. As if this circuit couldn't get any better. It's then on to a 90-degree right-hander, wouldn't be a street circuit without one of these things being involved, before a reasonably long straight, which is on a section of road so narrow that you'd barely be able to fit 2 cars wide comfortably. It's then onto an exceptionally tight left-right chicane, before immediately going towards a 90-degree left-hander that brings you onto the longest straight on the track. You go over the start line not long after that corner, but the finish line is still one challenge away, and it's quite a challenge that you have to overcome. Along the bumpy straight and over the crest you come before meeting an incredibly tight chicane. Possibly one of the tightest and fiddliest I've ever seen. It's a right-left-right affair, with there being in essence no room for error in the slightest. This chicane isn't exactly brilliant, although in some respects it isn't meant to be. The main purpose of the chicane was to bring the speeds down so that the drivers wouldn't head up to the tight turn 1 hairpin at the speed of sound. That I can completely understand, although I would still question if this was the best solution to sort out that problem. Perhaps a slightly more open 3-tiered chicane would have a similar speed reducing impact, whilst also making the chance of track blocking pile-ups less likely. But hey, what do I know? I've never designed a racetrack before. A short burst of acceleration brings you over the finish line and the pit lane entry, which in itself is quite unique. Sadly there isn't much footage of this. However, with a chicane, a 90-degree left-hander, a hairpin, and another chicane, it has all the features of a typical street circuit, just laid out in pit lane form. What a track this was. For me, one of the best Formula E tracks there's been. In fact, one of the best street tracks period in my view. However, this race was impacted by off-track events. There was an environmental protest about the staging of the event in the days prior. It wasn't about the cars racing that were the problem, more the cars and trucks that were setting up the track and spectator vehicles that were the issue. Then, when the event was not included in the following Formula E season calendar, the company organiser for the race went bankrupt in 2020. Sadly, whilst this event was very well received on the most part by people, with around 130,000 spectators estimated to have attended, including some using more unique methods of viewing the race, the track caused a fair amount of disruption to public transport. So it's highly unlikely that this event will return. Like I said earlier, I think this circuit is amazing. It's got loads of character about it, with a wide variety of corners, as well as having several quirky aspects to it. This was one of my favourite Formula E locations. The way I perceived this circuit initially was as though someone decided to organise a large international motor race in a small village up in the European mountains. Of course, I'm aware that Bern is not a small place, and is one of Switzerland's major cities. However, it almost feels like the track could have taken place in any small European town. This event made me aware of the existence of Bern. In fact, it looks like a place that I'd happily live in for the rest of my life. Plus, it was a great race. Overtaking wasn't easy, but I'll give this track an exception based on how amazing and unique it was. In my view, we will never see a racetrack like this exist ever again. Although, it very much ought to. That though is going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any more street circuits that you'd like to see featured in this series, then say in the comment section down below. And if you did enjoy this video, then I would enormously appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe button. However, until the next video, be kind to each other and enjoy the rest of your day.